there, welcome to Crafting with Kerry. So today what I want to do is some school labels, and I have already printed out a copy for us to cut, but I'm going to show you how you can go about designing these for yourself and really trying to get the most out of your printing cut area. So this is an A4 sticker sheet. It's just an ordinary tower sticker sheet. If you wanted to have some more resistant to water type labels, you could put some cold laminate, or what they call contact paper in South Africa, over this and then cut it out with that on top, so it has a bit of some water resistance and a bit of a protective layer on top of it. As opposed to just having paper stickers, you can also use things like your printable vinyl as well. However, because when doing school type labeling or labeling a number of different items, we want to use something that is very economical. That is why I've chosen this paper sticker paper for today. So let's get started on Design Space. So I'm going to head on over to my projects, and I am using my A4 printing cut school label project that I have made previously, as you've seen. I'm going to click on customize. It's quite a popular project. I see it's been bookmarked 290 times by people in the Cricut community. So it is quite a useful project. The label sizes are really quite great and useful. It does take a while to load, especially where you've got a lot of printing cut items, where there are quite a lot of images within a Design Space project. You will find it will take longer than what is considered normal to load. So don't be alarmed if it is taking quite a while just to get that project fully loaded. As you can see, most of the labels are already populated. It's just the intricate butterflies that I had chosen that seem to be taking a little while to load. There are quite a number of different colors. But really, you can choose any image to go with your school labels or whatever you are labeling. Whatever image suits you. You can also upload images. So from Google, looking up something like Paw Patrol or Pokemon or a cat or whatever it is that is the interest of the individual for whom you're making the labels, you can simply upload that image and include that as a little image on your label. Now, you don't have to put an image. It just depends on you, what you're going for. You can have more of a plain type look, but it really is going to be up to you as to what is going to be most suitable for your needs. And so as you can see, here's my pre-populated project. So if you do decide to use my existing project, you can simply amend it. So I do have a little guide here that you can unhide. Let me just go a little bit further out. And this guide is just going to give you the inside corners of your print then cut template for an A4 size paper. So this is helpful because it's just going to give you an indication of the kind of space that you have available for your print and cut. So as you can see here, everything fits nicely within that guide. And I know that when I print this, it's going to print well on an A4 sheet, and I'm not going to be losing out on too much space. If we head on back over to our workspace, you'll see that really we use majority of the page in totality. I know that there are actually some ridges, so the Design Space print and cut actually has a number of ridges, but I've just used the innermost ridge. It's just the easiest to make a nice rectangle and use that area without trying to really get involved in Tetris and try and put some at an indent here at the bottom and at an indent at the top. I just find that yes, you can get a little bit more usage out of your paper, but is it really worth the time, effort at the end of the day? So we're going for cost benefits here. The cost of that time is really going to give you a minor benefit with, maybe 2 or 4 extra labels. I mean, is it really worth it at the end of the day? So I do just use this generic guide. So it's 17 centimeters by 25 centimeters. You know that if you've gotten everything within that general range, then you should be good to go with an A4 page with quite a minimal amount of wastage. So how did I do these labels? So I have attached everything together, because you will find that when you have Cricut doing it, it's not very economical for some reason in terms of the printing cut. They don't seem to get the printing cut very nicely arranged when you get to that make screen. So it is going to be more beneficial to you to arrange it within this guide, and then put your stickers in accordingly. So if I were you and using this project, I would firstly select the guide and duplicate it. Now, I know it's going to be a bit frustrating using this, or what you can do is simply make your own. Start a fresh project, get that guide going. So how do we create a guide? So you would simply want to select a shape, so a rectangle or a square. And once you have selected the shape from your shape section, you will then amend the dimensions. You may need to click the unlock proportions, change your width to 17 centimeters, your height to 25 centimeters, or the equivalent in inches. And then you would just need to change this from a basic cut. So it would look like that. Initially, you would change that to a guide, and that's going to give you that pink line. And the guide means that it's just going to give you a sort of area within which to work, but the Cricut is not going to cut out that rectangle whatsoever. So it's simply a guide for us to use to be able to really just get our labels as much as possible and as economically as possible to use up whatever A4 sheet we have decided to use for our labels. I made a couple of different labels, and again, the size is going to depend on you and what you're trying to make. So whatever it is that you're wanting to label, you might find that you might need bigger labels or smaller labels depending on what it is and for what purposes. So I had a few bigger ones that were 6 centimeters long by 1.5 centimeters wide. And this is simply a rectangle again. So how did I create this? Let's grab a shape. I'm going to choose some with slightly rounded edge. So you can either amend mine and change the name and change the little image if you want. Or what you could do is just make sure you detach this so it is separate. Or you can make from scratch yourself. Just trying to make sure everything is detached here so that we can isolate our little label. Right, so once you have a rectangle, you can then simply change your width and height. So I'm going to make this 6. I'm going to change my height to 1.5. And I'm going to hold the shift key down on my keyboard. I'm waiting for my arrow to be curved like it is now on the screen. And let me just move this over a bit. So hold the shift key down, you've got a curved arrow, and then it will move it in fixed increments. Okay, so we've got then our blank start of our label. We can go ahead and change the color if we want. So if we wanted something like green, if we wanted a background in green, or you can have it in white as well. It really depends on whoever it is that is wanting, or whoever you're making the label for, and their aesthetics. So if we look at my label, if you want to see what font I've used, you can simply unflatten it. And we want to change our font to from print then cut. We change it to pen maybe. Okay, so we've got here our font is Cricut Sans, and it is changed to the writing style. Okay, but you can choose whatever suits you. Let's grab our text and bring it on over. So I've just changed this to example. Okay, you can choose Cricut Sans and the writing, but whatever font suits your purposes. Okay, you want to make it a bit smaller. It needs to be smaller than our height of 1.5. I'm going to bring it over, holding the shift key and dragging it so that we have our regular increments. And then I have my label here. Okay, we can also add a little image if we want. We can make this bigger or smaller. Let's select all of our layers and center horizontally, so we make sure that everything is well placed and centered. We can select images on Cricut, so if you want to, you can upload an image, or if you want to, you can select your own. So if you want a cat, you can also change your filters to a print then cut type picture and see what they have available. So there's a number of different options here. You can select whatever image suits your purposes. Make sure you size that right down so it will in fact fit in your label. You can always, when I'm working with such small labels, I do like to generally zoom in and just focus on those labels individually within the design phase. So holding my shift key, I've got my curved arrow, and I can maneuver my kitty cats. And we can add it to our label. We just want to select our rectangle and our cat and align that center horizontally. Once you are happy with your label, you can again just select everything and click on flatten, and that's going to give us a ready-made label. You can then duplicate it. You can use a couple on your area here. So I'm just going to take this one off. Let's just get rid of this one. And here we have our labels. And we should be able to quite comfortably fit 4 along our side. And you're not going to get them all perfectly aligned. So let's just go to our square and hide that for now. I'm going to select all 4 of these labels, and I want to align them to the right. And then what we want to do is, with our guide that we had, we can see that our top one is right near the top, and we want to make sure our bottom one is near the bottom. Probably should have done that first. I'm just going to quickly select all again and align those to the right. And then what I'm going to do is distribute them vertically. So it's going to give me an even spacing between them. And that's really how I did all of these little labels, is I just put a whole bunch of them, had them aligned to the left or the right, and then I selected them all and had them distributed evenly So in this case, it was vertically. And once I had that, I was able to attach them all together, and then I could duplicate it. So attach all those. I am duplicating them, and then I can put them on the next side. Okay, and if you are a perfectionist like me, you can also align those to the top. So both of our rows of stickers here are going to be perfectly aligned. And that will be the same for these little stickers as well. So you can do your little stickers in nice long strips. So making sure that you have them as economically as possible. So starting off putting your one right at the top of your guard, put one right at the bottom of your guard, put a bunch between those, and look and see once you have done your alignments, you know, are the gaps all right between them? Are the gaps too big? Maybe you can add another sticker and then distribute that to see if you can actually squeeze in an additional one with a smaller gap between your stickers. You can also then select your stickers that you have made, and you can make different sizes. So I'm going to select one of these. I'm going to hold my shift key and bring that horizontally, and then you can make it the same size as your smaller stickers. So if you want to, you can make a 4 centimeter by 1 centimeter. So if you're trying to label like pens or pencils, something that is rather small, you can do that. I'm just going to detach this one example separately. Okay, so here we're going to change this to 1 centimeter, change this to 4 centimeters. Make sure that you have your unlock proportions. And I'm just getting our guard back so we can make sure that that really goes into our top right corner. Okay. And then the same way we have done the others, we can duplicate these, select them all, have them all nicely aligned. And once we have done that, we can attach all of our stickers or labels that are in this particular column. We can then duplicate the column 2 times and then just get our distribution between the 3 columns. We can distribute evenly, and that would then generate for you this exact same sticker sheet that I have here. So once you are happy with your stickers, you've got everything sitting within that print then cut area, you can head on over and click on make. So I'm just going to select all of this. One final step that I haven't actually mentioned before you click on make is you want to make sure that everything is attached. So I'm just going to my guide. I'm going to hide it. It's not necessary, but I'm just doing so that I can select all of my stickers that I've made, attach it into a single sheet. And this is telling Cricut that we need to cut this all together as it is, because if we don't, it is going to choose its own placement on that make screen. And you'll often find that it's going to put bigger gaps between the stickers, and it's just going to not use that sticker paper or print then cut area, unfortunately, in the most efficient manner. And I find this to be true with most of my print then cuts type projects. Whenever I'm making stickers, it's going to be a situation where I'm going to use my little guide and I'm going to use that entire area to the best of my ability. So essentially playing some form of Tetris here, getting the optimal usage from that space. And then final step, once I've flattened everything, I'm going to select it all and attach it to tell Cricut that I want it to be made exactly as is in that placement when we get to the make screen. So here in this section, you'll find that I haven't actually attached these. So let's see what it looks like on our make screen. The only ones I have attached is this final column, but all these others I have not yet attached. And let's see what that then looks like on our cut screen. If you have not done a print and cut project before, this is the time where it's going to come up and say, well, you need to calibrate. Don't be frightened to do it. It really is quite a simple process. It will print out a calibration sheet, so you will need to be connected to your printer, or you can print it out at your friend's house or at a printing place. You can save it as a PDF and take it there and have it printed. When you then get to the calibration, you can say, I have already printed. So you click on the I've already printed button, and then you can go ahead and do the calibration on your Cricut machine. Certainly is worthwhile doing that setup because you don't have to do it after that. So you'll see now that I'm not going to have that pop up because I have made print and cut projects before, so it's not going to be necessary for me to recalibrate. So you just need to do that as generally a once-off. Sometimes there are updates where we need to redo a calibration, but it will give you that pop-up to tell you that you need to undergo the calibration again. See, taking quite a long time to load. So these print and cut projects, especially where you've done a large number of school labels, it can take a little while to actually generate that onto your make screen as well. So not only on the canvas, but also onto your make screen. Another thing, print and cut projects, initially, I must say I was super intimidated. I think I had my Cricut machine for a full year before I even attempted doing a print and cut project, but I promise you it was actually so rewarding. Once I had woken up one day and I said, this is the day I'm going to get this done. I'm going to learn, put this day aside, and make sure that today I get print and cut right. And I actually did it. It was done by, mid-morning. I was already done with my first project. And after that, I realized how easy it was, and it became one of my most favorite features because there is so much customization. You are not limited to what you can include on your stickers. If you want to take photos, or you want to use images that you've designed yourself or from other programs, or from even from Google, you can take those images, bring them into Cricut as a flattened or print and cut image, and include that as a sticker. So it does definitely become one of our favorite features of the Cricut machine. So now that our mats have been loaded, here you'll see our little example that we made. Now, this one is the one that we had attached, so it's all seen as a single item, and it's kind of placed our labels here. So when I'm talking about what area I'm using on my guide, it's this area, it's this innermost corner. I know you can get a tiny bit more on the indented, sides here, but to me, is it really worth the hassle of trying to squeeze a sticker somehow into here? I mean, it's really, for me, just not going to be worth the struggle. So I just use this corner as my guide for the printing kits, and that is the area that I focus on, just to not get any more gray hairs than I already have. What you do want to check on, so I'm focusing on this one that I have printed and made previously because it is already attached. Even if it doesn't load here, it can take a while. It is all attached. You can see we've used the area as much as possible. So there was a little bit at the bottom, but it's not enough for me to have gotten in another sticker. So I left it as is. You want to make sure your material size is going to be correlating to what you are using. So I generally use A4, but you can use other sizes as well, depending on the material that you have in terms of your printing cut. Okay, you don't need to select mirror on. It's not a form of iron-on, so it's going to be printed and used as is. We can then click on continue. Now you can also click on send to printer if you need to print that out. As you see, I have already printed my sticker sheet as I use a printer from another computer that's in our house. So I don't have a printer in my craft room besides my sublimation printer. So I printed out my sticker sheet. I just logged on to Design Space on the desktop PC in another room in our house and printed off my labels from there. In terms of the settings, you do want to make sure that you choose high quality printer settings. So if you are going to select send to printer, make sure that your page size, that will be the same as what it is in terms of your Cricut settings. You can print a PDF at this stage. So if you are needing to print this at a shop or somewhere external to your craft space, you can save it as a PDF, or you can select your printer. So this is my sublimation printer. There's also an option called add bleed. So you'll see that the stickers that I have, let me go back to our workspace. These ones I've actually printed with a bleed. Now, what does the bleed mean? So if you look at it, they've added a little bit of extra color, extending beyond the top, bottom, left, and right of each sticker. And that is helpful for these types of stickers where you have a color block that you are wanting cut out. So in this case, my silver color block that I want cut out. It gives the Cricut a little bit of room for maneuver. So if it cuts slightly higher or lower or slightly to the left or right, you're not going to have a situation where it cuts out partly of the white of your sticker. So it just gives it a little bit of room that even if it cuts a little bit off, it's still going to get a full silver colored block for my stickers. So that's a really nice feature. It's not something you're always going to use. I don't always use it when I'm making general stickers, because with my general stickers, I do often have like a white border, like an offset around them. And there's no need to add a bleed to a white offset. If it was a black offset or a green or an orange or red or, some type of color, then yes, if I do want that color as the edging to my sticker, then yes, if you're wanting to go right up to the edge of the sticker, definitely use a bleed. If you have a white border to your sticker, then there's no real reason to then use the bleed function. And then use system dialog. You can select that if you need to adjust your printer settings. It will come up with your printer, and you can then select high quality, etc., to make sure that you really get the best quality out of your stickers. Okay, you can then select print if you have a printer, or I've already printed if you have printed it elsewhere. Let's let Design Space connect to the Maker 4. We can click on continue. Okay, you can select what type of material you're using. So if you're using like a printable vinyl, you can select that. Because I'm simply using a sticker paper, I'm just going to use laser copy paper. But if you are using a laser copy or these sticker paper, and you've put over an additional layer like of contact or cold laminate, then you might want to select like vinyl sticker paper or something like that. That's going to have a slightly deeper pressure to be able to get through all of your stickers. Okay, let's head on over back to our workspace and we can get our mat set up. And for your paper stickers, you can use either your light grip, so your blue mat, or your green grip. Now, my green grip is really not so sticky anymore. It's pretty much a light grip at this stage. You want to make sure that your alignment, you'll see there's a little arrow here, and that needs to go on the top left corner of your mat. And I'd say this is quite important to get your alignment correct on your mat. You don't want to be a little bit skewed, like we do have that type of leeway with vinyl and iron-on and that type of thing. With print then cut, you really need to make sure that it is as close to the lines and as straight as possible, just so that when the Cricut reads these registration marks, it's going to hopefully cut in the correct places. Once we've done this, we can move on over to our Cricut machine. I just want to be mindful that with these registration marks, you need to ensure that the Cricut is able to read them. So if you are using a printable vinyl that has quite a lot of shine, so it's holographic or something like that, it's got quite a bad reflection, even if you've put a cold laminate or a contact paper over your labels, you might find that these registration marks become reflective, and then it may be difficult for your Cricut machine to read. What you can do is put over some like matted sticky tape just to dull these lines a bit. You could also, I know Kelly Rousseau has used a white crayon, so a white wax crayon, just to kind of rub over these registration marks, and it takes that shine off, so that when your Cricut is reflecting back and trying to read where those lines are before it does its cut, it's not going to get that shine back from your material and cause issues in terms of the reading. And now that we are all set up, we can head on over to our Cricut machine and get loaded. We can click on our play button. You can see it's the holidays. Everything's a little bit slower. So the Cricut machine is busy reading each of the corner registration marks of our sticker paper. Once it is happy with the alignment and where everything is, it's going to go ahead back to the start and cut out our stickers. Here we go. It's going to cut out each of our individual stickers now. I'm happy with the placement of those. These type of labels can be great to use for, various areas, especially things like school labeling. I do see a lot of people using these instead of having to write every single name or buying stickers from an external party. You can simply make them yourself. And once you've got that template done, I mean, you can just keep going with that every year. You can just change the image if you want, and it's quite quick once you have it down and you have your little project ready to go based on your needs. You know how many types of small labels you need, what sizes you need, and you can just go for it. I mean, if you want to be on the safer side, you can even just go with more generic plain labels and then just use those year after year after year for your school labeling. And here we go, it's all done. And we can click unload. And here we have our stickers. I'm losing a few here. But here are our stickers individually cut out, and you can simply take them, you peel off the backing, and you can use them on your pens and papers. Oops, sorry, let me head on over to my workspace. So here are our stickers, and you can simply remove them and use them in wherever you need. So here is the sticker. Simply peel off our backing. Okay, and there we have our sticker ready to use on whatever application you want, pens, paper, books, all of your different school supplies. You can then use your stickers as is. So as you can see what the bleed has done, so it just made a little bit of extra gray on the edges, so that if it cuts a little bit more to the top, bottom, left or right, that it had some leeway to do so, and that wasn't going to interfere in our stickers and getting that gray color block. So that is great. If you want to use like sticker paper but you don't want them to be a die cut, so this is more of a die cut, you can select a copy paper and then use less pressure, and in that case it won't be a full-on die cut. So that would just be a sheet where all your stickers are still on the sheet, and you can just peel them off the sheet as and when you need them. So it just depends on you, what you are trying to go for, and that is how you cut a full sheet of school stickers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you do like this type of content, do subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if there are any other videos or projects that you are particularly stuck with and would like some assistance, let us know, and that may be our next video. Thank you so much for joining us today, and happy crafting.